The present perfect subjunctive in Spanish talks about what someone has done or what has happened in the subjunctive form. Just like the regular present perfect, the present perfect subjunctive is formed using the verb haber and the past participle expressing an action that recently has happened. Despite being part of the subjunctives, in my opinion, the present perfect subjunctive is one of the easiest topics to understand because the same conditions activated as in the normal present perfect. Unlike the present perfect, the verb haber in this case needs to be conjugated differently in the present perfect subjunctive. Instead of these conjugations, you have these ones. Yo haya in the present perfect subjunctive would mean I have and then a past participle. Tu hayas would mean you have, él haya, he has, nosotros hayamos, we have, vosotros hayáis, y'all have, and ellos hayan, they have. In the present perfect subjunctive, I recommend focusing on all pronouns except vosotros because they're very useful to know in Spanish. Just like the normal present subjunctive, sentences in the present perfect subjunctive must all be in some form of the present because the action is occurring before it's expressed in the main clause. In other words, every verb within a phrase has to be in the present form. And here's what I mean. Let's take this sentence. I hope that you have slept well. How would you say it in Spanish? Yo espero que tú hayas dormido bien, with esperar being a weird verb, hayas being a conjugation of haber, and dormido being the past participle. The convenient part is that unlike the previous subjunctives that I've shown, both in English and Spanish, there's only one way to express the two sentences because all verbs in the two phrases are in the present, and they all have to remain as they do. In English, you can technically say, I hope that you slept well, but when you put this phrase in Spanish, it will not activate the subjunctive because you have two different tenses. I hope is in the present, and you slept is in the past. And these two forms do not allow the subjunctive to be activated, which is why we have to include the present perfect. You have slept. Now, the sentence has one whole tense, which allows for the subjunctive. Yo espero que tú hayas dormido bien. Unlike the previous videos that I've done about the subjunctive, in this video, I will not present too many phrases because the present perfect subjunctive is one of the least used topics in Spanish. Some of the sentences that you will see will randomly be made, with verbs that come from weird and with a few phrases having a general main clause. So watch out for that. How would you say this phrase? Yo estoy feliz de que él haya dicho la verdad. How about this phrase? No creemos que tú hayas comido mucho. What about this one? Es posible que hayamos hecho algo malo. How about this? Es imposible que ellos hayan escrito un libro. What about this? Yo espero que tú hayas resuelto el problema. How would you say this? Tú esperas que él haya estudiado para la prueba. How about this? Es triste que él no lo haya pasado. This sentence was a bit tricky because there is a negative and the direct object pronoun which are both placed before the conjugated verbs. In case you don't remember, the present perfect subjunctive functions the same way as the regular present perfect, which means that the phrase haber plus a past participle cannot be split apart. This is the reason why negatives and object pronouns are always placed before this construction. How would you say this? Ella duda que hayamos venido tan rápido. How about this phrase? Ellos están preocupados de que tú los hayas visto. Once again, we have a direct object pronoun coming before the conjugated verb. Here's the last phrase for the video. How would you say it? Es una lástima que ellos no me lo hayan dado. This sentence was the trickiest because it had a negative and two object pronouns which were all put before the conjugated verb. Conversationally, it will not be as difficult as this. So this is the most that you have to know and understand with the present perfect subjunctive. Even though it's a subjunctive, the present perfect has a very minimal use in the subjunctive itself, mainly because it's not used that often, and like I always say, it's a concept that is more useful to know than to use. So that's that. This has been the present perfect subjunctive in Spanish. Thank you for watching this video, and hopefully I made your learning just a bit simpler.